Predator or victim? The lie of a student that destroyed my life. I was 10 feet away from him when I pulled the recorder from my pocket. Spencer Blackwood, 17, perfectly styled hair, the smile of someone who'd never known a single day of consequence. He glanced at the device in my hand, and for the first time since this whole nightmare began, I saw fear flicker in his eyes. "Do you really think you're going to get away with this?" My voice was calmer than I expected, steady, cold, as if it belonged to someone else. He took a step back. The school auditorium was empty on that Saturday afternoon. Just the two of us. No witnesses, no security cameras in this specific hallway. I had checked. Mrs. Powell. He tried that smooth tone. The mask of innocence that had fooled everyone. "I don't know what you're talking about, Mrs. Powell." I wasn't Mrs. Powell anymore. Not after what he did. I pressed play. His own voice filled the silence. Clear, crisp, confessing everything. Every lie, every manipulation, every second of the trap he'd built to destroy me. The recording that would change everything. That would prove my innocence. That would show the world who the real monster was. But you know what's funny? When I finished listening to that recording for the first time, 3 days ago, I didn't feel relief. I felt rage. A rage so deep my entire body trembled. Because I finally understood. He wasn't just a troubled teenager. He was dangerous, calculating, and he was connected to something far bigger and more terrifying than anyone could imagine. "You know who I really am, don't you, Spencer?" I took a step toward him. "Not Catherine Powell, the literature teacher. You know my real name." I saw the mask fall. For a split second, the golden boy, the model student, the son of the city's most powerful developer vanished. And in his place was exactly what I suspected, an enforcer, cold, trained. "Anya Petrova," he said. And my real name sounded like a death sentence. The woman who sent my uncle to prison for life 15 years ago. The protected witness the Volkov Syndicate has been hunting ever since. Yes, I destroyed his life. I exposed every lie he told about me. I revealed the truth about the harassment accusation that nearly sent me to prison. I showed everyone who Spencer Blackwood truly was, and I don't regret a single moment of it. But I need you to understand something before you judge me. Before you decide if I'm the villain or the victim of this story. Before you form your opinion based on what the media said, what people whispered, what my own family believed. I need to tell you how I got here. How a 51-year-old teacher, who only wanted to teach her classes and go home, transformed into the woman standing in that auditorium, holding the proof that would shatter a teenager's life. Because this story didn't start when Spencer accused me of harassment. It didn't start when my husband filed for divorce. Nor when my daughters stopped answering my calls. It didn't even start when a photoshopped picture of me embracing Spencer appeared on every local news site with the headline, "Predator Professor, Sex Scandal at Elite Academy." This story began 15 years ago, in another life, with another name, when I testified against the second largest crime syndicate in the country and watched my entire family get executed before I was placed in the witness protection program. And Spencer? Spencer wasn't just some manipulative student. He was planted at that school specifically to find me, to destroy me from the inside out, to do the dirty work without getting blood on the hands of the men who are still looking for me. But what Spencer didn't know, what nobody knew, is that when you've already lost everything once, when you've already died and been reborn with a new identity, you learn something fundamental. There is nothing they can take from you that you can't take from them too. So yes, they called me a predator, crazy, a liar, a perverted teacher, an obsessed woman, every ugly name in the book. My name was dragged through the mud on every website, in every comment section, in every hushed conversation in the hallways. And I made sure that every single person who took part in that charade paid the price. Every one of them, including the 17-year-old boy standing in front of me, with fear finally etched on his face for the first time in his life. You want to know if I'm the villain of this story? It depends on which truth you choose to believe. The one they told about me, or the one nobody wanted to hear, because I'm going to tell you now, every detail, every moment, every decision that brought me to that auditorium, with a recorder in my hand, and the chance to get my life back, or lose what was left of it forever. And when I'm done, you'll understand why the line between victim and villain is sometimes so thin, it disappears completely. Let me take you back to the moment it all started to crumble, when the life I had so carefully built began to crack, and I still had no idea I'd been hunted for months. Subscribe now and hit the notification bell. Every week I bring you stories of women who dared to tell their truth. You won't want to miss a single one. 6 months before that confrontation in the auditorium, my life was exactly what I'd always wanted. Simple, predictable, safe. Every morning I'd wake up at 6 to the smell of coffee that Michael brewed before he left for his law firm. 23 years of marriage, and he still left my favorite mug, the blue one with white flowers Emily gave me for Mother's Day, on the counter, with a sticky note attached. Morning, love. Early meeting. Love you. Always the same hurried handwriting. Always the same words. And I loved that routine. Michael Powell, my husband, a tax attorney with salt and pepper hair he refused to dye, and reading glasses always hanging around his neck. A predictable man. Reliable. Exactly what I needed when we met 15 years ago. When I was still Anya Petrova trying to get used to being Catherine Powell. He didn't know, of course. Nobody knew. My former identity was a secret buried so deep that sometimes I forgot who I used to be. Agent Harris, my WITSEC contact, called me once a month. Just to check in. Just to make sure everything was normal. And it was. For 15 years it was. I had built a perfect life on top of ashes. My daughters, Emily and Jessica. Not my biological daughters. That would have been impossible for someone who entered the program without a family, but they accepted me as their mother when I married Michael. Emily was 13, Jessica 10. Now they were grown women. Beautiful. Independent. Emily worked at an ad agency downtown. Jessica had her own architectural firm. They called me every week. We had lunch together on Sundays. I had a family again. People who loved me. People who knew me as Kate, the gentle teacher who loved classic literature and baked carrot cake on the weekends. Oak Ridge Academy was my sanctuary. 20 years of teaching literature to teenagers who thought Shakespeare was boring, until I showed them that Romeo and Juliet was basically a story of obsession and bad decisions. I loved seeing the light bulb go on in their eyes. Loved when a disinterested student suddenly discovered that Hawthorne wrote about secrets, betrayals, and lies that could be in any high school drama. Laura Chen, my department colleague and best friend for 12 years, said I had a gift for making literature come alive. We shared the faculty lounge, traded recipes, complained about overprotective parents and spoiled students. She was going through a messy divorce, and I was her shoulder to cry on. Every coffee break we took together was mutual therapy. "You're lucky, Kate," she told me once, stirring sugar into her coffee as she looked out the faculty lounge window. "You have a stable marriage, daughters who adore you, a solid career. Sometimes I think you're the only person I know who really has it all figured out." I smiled. I didn't say anything, because how could I explain that having it all figured out was just a carefully constructed illusion? That every day I woke up thankful for another 24 hours of normalcy? That sometimes late at night, I still dreamed of faces from the past, faces of people who no longer existed, but during the day, I was just Kate. And Kate was happy. Then Spencer Blackwood joined my class. It was at the beginning of the second semester, March. Autumn was setting in, the leaves starting to turn on the school grounds. I was organizing midterm exams when Dr. Grant, the headmistress, walked into my classroom, accompanied by a boy I'd never seen before. "Mrs. Powell, this is Spencer Blackwood, a transfer from New York. He'll be joining your senior AP Lit class." Spencer was 17 but looked older. Perfect posture, an impeccable blazer. Who wears a blazer to high school? Perfectly coiffed hair, brown eyes that watched me with an unnerving intensity. He extended a hand to greet me. "A pleasure, Mrs. Powell. I've heard you're the best literature teacher in the state." His voice was smooth, polite, but there was something in it that made me involuntarily recoil, something my gut recognized before my brain could process it. A shiver ran down my spine. "Welcome, Spencer," I said, shaking his hand quickly and letting go. "I hope you'll be happy here." He smiled, the same smile I would see 1,000 times later, in nightmares and in flashbacks. The one that seemed genuine, but had something wrong lurking at the edges. "I'm sure I'll love your classes, Mrs. Powell." Dr. Grant beamed. "Spencer's father, Harrison Blackwood, is a prominent developer. He's made a very generous donation toward our new library wing. I'm certain Spencer will be an excellent addition to our student body." A generous donation, of course. At Oak Ridge Academy, money always bought subtle privileges. Spencer started attending my classes the next day. Always sat in the front row, always paid attention, always raised his hand to participate. His essays were flawless. He quoted authors most high school students had never heard of. He was articulate, intelligent, charismatic. The other students loved him instantly. Within 2 weeks, Spencer was popular. Captain of the debate team, leader of the study group, the boy everyone wanted to be around. And he always stayed after class to ask questions. Always. Mrs. Powell, could I ask a quick question about the interpretation of Dostoevsky? Mrs. Powell, could you recommend more books on existentialism? Mrs. Powell, do you have a minute to look over my essay? At first, I thought he was just a dedicated student. A little intense perhaps, but dedicated. I answered his questions, recommended books, reviewed his essays. It was my job. It was what I did for any interested student. But after 3 weeks, I started noticing small things. Details that didn't add up. Spencer always seemed to be wherever I was. In the library when I was returning books. In the parking lot as I was leaving. At the coffee shop across from the school where I met Laura for lunch. Always casual. Always with a plausible excuse. What a coincidence, Mrs. Powell. I was just looking for this exact book. Just picking up a gift for my mother. Once I was talking to Michael on the phone in the empty third-floor hallway. It was about something trivial. He was going to be late. He had a difficult client. When I hung up and turned around, Spencer was there. Standing still, 10 feet away. Sorry, Mrs. Powell. Didn't mean to startle you. I was just looking for you to turn in my assignment. He held out a folder. Smiled, but his eyes weren't smiling. They were studying me. How long had he been standing there? How much of my conversation had he heard? Thank you, Spencer. You can just leave it on my desk next class. Of course, Mrs. Powell. He didn't leave. He just stood there, holding the folder, watching me. You seem tired. Is everything okay at home? The question was inappropriate, invasive, but he made it sound like the genuine concern of a thoughtful student. I'm fine, Spencer. Thank you. He finally turned and walked away. But that conversation rattled in my head for the rest of the day. That night, lying in bed next to a sleeping Michael, I stared at the ceiling. My heart was beating a little faster. My hands were cold. It was paranoia. It had to be. 15 years of looking over my shoulder, of jumping at strange noises, of having nightmares about dead men's faces. Of course I was seeing threats where none existed. Spencer was just a teenager, a dedicated student, a rich, spoiled kid who liked attention. Nothing more. I took a deep breath, closed my eyes. I convinced myself that everything was fine. But deep down, in that part of me that never forgot how to be Anya Petrova, I knew something was wrong. I just didn't want to believe it, because believing it meant my past had found me, that the 15 years of peace were over, that the life I had built was about to fall apart, and I was right. 2 weeks later, it all began to crumble. It was a Wednesday, April 10th. I remember because it was Jessica's birthday, and I had left early to pick up the cake I'd ordered. The sky was overcast. The air smelled like rain. I was putting my books in my bag when I heard a knock on my classroom door. Spencer. Mrs. Powell, can I talk to you? It's urgent. I glanced at the clock. 5:15 p.m. The school was empty. The other teachers had already gone home. The last student had left 20 minutes ago. Spencer, I'm just leaving. Can we talk tomorrow? Please, Mrs. Powell. It won't take long. It's about my essay. The grade I received. He'd gotten an A, the highest grade in the class. What could he possibly want to discuss? But he stood there, with that look of concern that seemed so genuine. And I'd been a teacher long enough to know that seniors got obsessive about grades when college applications were on the line. All right? 5 minutes. He came in. He closed the door behind him. That should have been my first warning. It should have made me open the door again. Keep everything visible. Keep potential witnesses nearby. But I did nothing, because I still thought Spencer was just a student. Just a 17-year-old boy worried about his grades. What's your question? I remained standing on the other side of my desk. I kept my distance. Actually, Mrs. Powell, he took a step toward me. I didn't come to talk about the essay. My entire body went rigid. Instinct. The same instinct that saved me 15 years ago when I realized I was being followed. The instinct I had learned never to ignore. Then what did you come to talk about, Spencer? About you. He smiled. But it was no longer the polite student smile. It was something else. Something cold. Calculated. About who you really are. The world stopped. My heart hammered against my ribs. Ice flowed through my veins. I don't know what you're talking about. Anya Petrova. He said my name as if he were savoring every syllable. Born in Chicago. Testified against the Volkov Syndicate 15 years ago. Entered WITSEC after your mother, father, and brother were executed. Disappeared. Became Catherine Powell. Literature teacher. New life. New identity. Every word was a punch to the gut. I couldn't breathe. The room was spinning. How? How did he know? You're delusional. My voice came out weak, unconvincing. Your brother was Alexei Petrova. Your mother, Elena, your father, Ivan, all dead on the same night. You were 28 when you testified. The head of the syndicate, Dmitry Volkov, swore he would find you. He pulled his phone out of his pocket, showed me a photo of me from 15 years ago. Anya Petrova, with a different face, a different haircut, a different life. Dmitry Volkov is my uncle. He died in prison 2 years ago. But before he died, he found me. He told me about the woman who destroyed our empire, the woman who needed to pay. No. And I promised him, Spencer continued, taking another step, that I would find you, that I would make you pay, not with a bullet. Too easy, too quick. I was going to destroy everything you built. I was going to make you lose every piece of this fake life. No one will believe you. The words came out automatically, desperately. You're a teenager. I'm a respected teacher. I know. He smiled again. That's why I'm not going to accuse you of anything criminal. I don't need to. I just need to plant the seed of doubt, make people question. And then, when your reputation is in ruins, when your husband files for divorce, when your daughters turn their backs on you, when you lose your job and you're completely alone, then I'll let the right people know where Anya Petrova is, and they will finish the job. He was 3 feet away from me. I could smell his expensive cologne. I saw every detail of his face. No emotion, no remorse. An enforcer, probably trained since childhood, the nephew of the man I had destroyed. You're a wonderful teacher, he said, almost whispering. Everyone loves you, so imagine their surprise when they find out you have an obsession with me, that you call me for private conversations, that you close the door, that you look at me inappropriately, that you touch my shoulder, my arm, little touches, nothing provable, but just enough to make people wonder. You're insane. I backed away until I hit the wall. No, Mrs. Powell, I'm prepared. I've been preparing for this for months, ever since I hacked the WITSEC database and found your trail. Ever since my father made that generous donation to the school and secured my transfer. Ever since Dr. Grant agreed to help me in exchange for more renovation funds. The headmistress was involved. And now, Spencer took a step back, grabbed his backpack. Everything is in motion. In 2 days, I'm going to tell my parents that I'm uncomfortable with the way you treat me. I'll say I didn't want to believe it, but that you've been making strange comments, that you look at me in a way that feels wrong, that you asked me to stay behind alone with you after class, just like today. There are no cameras here, I said, glancing at the corners of the room. No, but there are in the hallway, and the footage will show that I entered your room at 5:15 and that the door was closed, that we were alone for, he looked at his watch, 8 minutes, enough time for anything to happen. And when they ask me why I came, I'll say you asked me to, that you sent a message to the class group chat saying you needed to see me urgently. I didn't send any message, I know, but my phone will show that you did, a message sent from your number. I'm very good with technology, Mrs. Powell. I learned from the best hackers money can buy. He opened the door, paused, turned to me one last time. Oh, and Mrs. Powell? Don't bother telling anyone about our conversation. Who would believe you? You're a 51-year-old woman, single for years before marrying Michael. No biological children. Who would find it impossible to believe you developed an obsession with a handsome, intelligent student? Especially when the proof starts to surface. He left. The door clicked shut, and I stood there leaning against the wall, my legs trembling so badly I could barely stand. This wasn't happening. It couldn't be happening. I grabbed my phone with shaky hands. I called Agent Harris. He answered on the 3rd ring. Kate? What's wrong? They found me. The words came out in a desperate whisper. Dmitry Volkov's nephew. He's at my school. He knows everything. He's going to... Breathe. Where are you right now? In my classroom. At the school. Get out of there. Go to a public place. Don't be alone. I'm sending a team to you. He said he's going to destroy me first. That he's going to make it look like I harassed him. That... Kate, listen to me. We will protect you, but I need you to do exactly as I say. Understand? Don't talk to anyone about your former identity. Not your husband, not your daughters, no one. It could put everyone in danger. Okay, but nothing was okay. Nothing. I'll come to you tomorrow. We'll plan the next steps. For now, act normal. Don't let him see that you're scared. I hung up. Took a deep breath, tried to stop shaking. I went home, picked up the cake, sang happy birthday to Jessica, surrounded by my family. I smiled. I pretended, because that's what Anya Petrova had learned to do for the past 15 years. Pretend everything was fine when the world was falling apart. That night, lying next to Michael, I couldn't sleep. I kept imagining how Spencer would do it, how he would plant the seeds, how he would tear me down, piece by piece. And 2 days later, exactly as he promised, it all began. I was in the faculty lounge grading papers when Dr. Grant walked in. Her face was serious, tense. "Kate, I need to speak with you. In private." My stomach churned. I knew. Before she even spoke, I knew. Spencer Blackwood's parents came to see me this morning. They're concerned. Spencer told them he's feeling uncomfortable with the way you've been treating him. And that's how it started, with a simple sentence, a veiled accusation, a seed of doubt. And I had no idea it was just the beginning. I sat in the chair across from Dr. Grant's desk. My hands were clasped in my lap to hide their shaking. My breathing was controlled. My face was neutral. Everything Anya Petrova had taught me about survival. "Audrey, Spencer is lying." My voice came out firm, calm. "I have never done anything inappropriate with him or any other student. In 20 years of teaching, I've never had a single complaint." She sighed, the kind of sigh administrators make when they don't want to believe something but feel they have to investigate. "Kate, I know you. I know you're an exemplary professional. But Spencer's parents are very insistent. His father is a powerful man, and they have evidence." "What evidence?" My heart hammered. "Text messages Spencer received, from your number, asking him to stay after school. Comments about how special he is, how you enjoy talking to him alone." "I never sent those messages." I stood up from the chair. "Let me see my phone. I can prove they already checked. The messages came from your number." "Of course they did." Spencer had said as much. He was good with technology. He'd spoofed my number, created false evidence. "Audrey, this is a setup. He's framing me. Please, you have to believe me." She avoided my gaze. And in that moment, I knew. She had already chosen a side, the side of money, the side of generous donations, Spencer's side. "Here's what we're going to do," she said, in that professional, cold tone. "I'm opening an internal investigation. In the meantime, I think it's best if you keep your distance from Spencer. No private conversations, no after-school help. Only what is strictly necessary in the classroom. An internal investigation? Audrey, there's nothing to investigate. It's standard procedure, Kate, to protect you as well. Protect me." She was treating me like I was the threat. I left her office on shaky legs. Laura was waiting for me in the hallway. Her face was pale. "Kate, what's going on?" "Audrey just called me in for a talk. She asked about your behavior with students. If you had any obsessions, if I had ever noticed anything strange." The floor fell out from under me. They were questioning other teachers, planting doubt, spreading poison. "Laura, I didn't do anything. Spencer is making it all up." She hugged me. "I know. I told her you're the most ethical person I know, that this is absurd." But in her eyes, I saw it. A tiny shadow, a hesitation, a question she wasn't asking out loud. But what if it's true? The doubt had been planted, even in my best friend. In the following days, everything got worse. Spencer started skipping my classes. When he did show up, he sat in the back of the room, head down, with the posture of a victim. The other students noticed. They started whispering. I saw the looks, the conversations that stopped when I walked into the faculty lounge. A week after my talk with the headmistress, I was teaching a lesson on the Scarlet Letter when the classroom door opened. 2 men in suits. One of them flashed a badge. "Catherine Powell, we're from the Child Protection Unit. We need you to come with us to give a statement." 30 students stared at me. Jaws dropped, shocked. I saw it in their eyes, the teacher being led away by police. Guilty until proven innocent. "Can I at least finish the lesson?" "No, ma'am. We need to go now." I grabbed my bag. I walked between the rows of desks. Every step was a public humiliation. Every look was a condemnation. I heard a student whisper. I knew there was something off about her. I always thought she was weird. At the station, I spent 4 hours answering questions. A young detective with a hard, judgmental gaze interrogated me as if I were a criminal. "Are you aware of the severity of harassing a minor, Mrs. Powell?" "I didn't harass anyone. Spencer Blackwood claims you made comments about his appearance, that you touched his shoulder inappropriately, that you invited him for private chats and closed the door. It's all a lie. We have text messages from your phone. They're fake messages. He hacked my number." The detective laughed. Not a humorous laugh. A laugh of disbelief. Are you accusing a 17-year-old boy of being a criminal hacker? I'm telling the truth, or you're lying because you got caught. It went on like that for 4 hours. 4 hours of accusations, insinuations, looks of disgust. When I was finally released, there were photographers at the station entrance. Flashes in my face. Shouted questions. Mrs. Powell, is it true you harassed a student? How many students were victims? Do you have anything to say to the families? I covered my face, got in my car. The photos were online in less than an hour. Teacher suspected of harassment leaves police station. My face on every headline. My name destroyed in seconds. Michael called me 2 hours later. His voice was different. Cold. Distant. Kate, what the hell is going on? My partners at the firm sent me the link. You were at the police station? It's all a lie, Michael. Spencer is framing me. Why would he do that? He's just a kid, because he knows who I am. He found out about my past, about Anya Petrova, about silence. A long, heavy silence. What are you talking about? Who is Anya Petrova? Damn it. I had said too much. Agent Harris had warned me not to say anything. But I was desperate. I needed my husband to believe me. Michael, I need to tell you something. Before we met, I had another identity. I was in the witness protection program. My real name is, are you lying to me now? Making up stories from an action movie to justify yourself? It's not a story. It's the truth. Call Agent Harris. He'll confirm. Kate, stop. You're spiraling. First this absurd harassment story, and now you're a spy in witness protection? Do you hear yourself? I was losing him. I could feel it. With every word, he was pulling further away. Michael, please, believe me. I don't know who to believe anymore, Kate. He hung up. That night I slept in the guest room. Michael didn't want to see me. Didn't want to listen. I had become a stranger to him. Things got worse the next day. Emily called. She was crying. Mom, is it true? Did you do that to a student? No, sweetie, I swear I didn't. But everyone is saying it. It's all over the internet. There are group chats discussing it. My coworkers are asking me if it's my mom. Jessica is a wreck. She doesn't want to talk to you. Emily, please. You know me. You know I would never do something like that. I thought I knew you. Her voice broke. But now I'm not so sure. You lied about so much. Who is Anya Petrova? Why did Dad say you made up some crazy story about witness protection? Spencer had even destroyed that. He had turned my defense into another piece of evidence of my insanity. It's complicated, honey, but I promise I'll explain everything when... Don't call me again. I need some space. She hung up. My daughter. My girl. Cutting me out of her life. I went back to the school 2 days later. Dr. Grant called me into her office again. This time there were other people in the room. The school's lawyer. A representative from the Board of Education. Kate, we've received more complaints. Other students saying you exhibited strange behavior. That you would stare at them inappropriately. Which students? We can't disclose that, but these are serious allegations. They're lying! Someone put them up to this. The lawyer leaned forward. Mrs. Powell, we strongly suggest you take a voluntary leave of absence while the investigation proceeds. It's better for everyone. You're firing me? We're suggesting a paid leave until this is all cleared up. It was a dismissal in disguise. They wanted me out of there before the scandal tarnished the school's reputation. And if I refuse, then we will have to take more drastic measures. The board has already voted. It was unanimous. Unanimous. 20 years of dedication. 20 years of giving my all. And it took 2 weeks of lies to destroy me. I need my job. I didn't do anything wrong. We're very sorry, Kate. But we have to think of the students' well-being. I left there carrying a box with my belongings. Books I loved. Class photos. Thank you notes from former students. 20 years in a cardboard box. The other teachers watched me from a distance. No one came near. No one said goodbye. Even Laura avoided my gaze. I was alone. In the parking lot, I found my car vandalized. Tires slashed. Words spray-painted in red on the hood. Predator, groomer, monster. I sat down on the pavement of the parking lot and finally cried. I cried for the 20 lost years, for the family that had abandoned me, for the life that was falling apart. I cried because there was nothing else I could do, or so I thought. A week later, I received the divorce papers. Michael didn't want to talk in person. He sent them through his lawyers. He was asking for a full separation of assets. He cited breach of trust and inappropriate behavior, causing public embarrassment. 23 years of marriage. Over in a legal paragraph. I tried calling my daughters. Neither of them answered. I sent texts. Nothing. I went to Emily's house. She wouldn't open the door. Go away, Kate. You're not my mother anymore. Not my mother anymore. The words echoed in my head for days. I had lost everything. My job, my family, my reputation, my friends. Everything I had built in 15 years had evaporated in 3 weeks. And Spencer was still at school. The hero, the brave victim who had exposed the predator teacher, he gave interviews to local news outlets, talked about how hard it was to deal with the trauma, how he hoped other victims would find the courage to speak out. He was destroying everything, just as he had promised. And the worst part? No one believed me. When I tried to defend myself, they called me crazy. When I mentioned I was being framed, they laughed in my face. When I talked about my past, about the witness protection program, about Spencer being the nephew of a crime boss, they treated me as if I had completely lost my mind. I was falling, plummeting, with no one to catch me. But there was one thing Spencer didn't know, one thing nobody knew. Anya Petrova hadn't died 15 years ago. She was just sleeping, waiting. And now that Catherine Powell had lost everything, now that there was nothing left to lose, Anya was finally waking up. And she was far more dangerous than anyone could possibly imagine. 3 weeks after losing my job, I was living in a tiny apartment downtown. A 1-bedroom, peeling paint on the walls, a smell of mildew, noisy neighbors. It was all I could afford with the savings I had. Michael kept the house. Everything. I didn't have the strength to fight for anything. I just wanted to get out of there, out of that neighborhood where everyone knew me, where everyone looked at me with disgust. I didn't leave the apartment anymore. I couldn't. Every time I stepped outside, someone recognized my face. The predator teacher, the woman from the headlines. People would take pictures, record videos, post them on social media with hateful captions. I had become a meme, a joke, an internet monster. I stopped eating properly. I lost 15 pounds in 2 weeks. My hair was falling out in clumps. I'd see it on my pillow every morning. Deep, dark circles under my eyes, pale skin. When I looked in the mirror, I didn't recognize the woman staring back. Agent Harris had stopped taking my calls. The last time I spoke to him, 2 weeks ago, he said there was nothing he could do, that Spencer was a minor, that there was no concrete proof he was working for the syndicate, that my accusations sounded like the delusions of a woman under pressure. Even he doubted me. I was completely alone. It was on a Thursday that I received the notification. A formal email. Cold. Objective. Ms. Catherine Powell, we are writing to inform you that a civil lawsuit has been filed against you by the parents of the minor SB for moral and psychological damages. The lawsuit seeks $500,000. You have 15 days to retain counsel and file a response. $500,000. I didn't even have $5,000 in my bank account. They weren't satisfied with destroying my reputation. They wanted to destroy me financially too. They wanted to see me in absolute ruin, with no way out, no hope. I called Michael. He didn't answer. I sent a text. Nothing. I tried his office. The secretary said he had instructions not to accept my calls. I tried one more time to talk to my daughters. Emily had blocked my number. Jessica had changed hers. I had no one. That night, I sat on the cold floor of the empty apartment. I hadn't bought any furniture yet, just a mattress on the floor, a suitcase of clothes, a box of books I didn't have the courage to open. I picked up a bottle of cheap wine I'd bought at the corner store. I drank straight from the bottle. I didn't care about anything anymore. I didn't care that I was drinking alone on the floor of a miserable apartment at 9 o'clock on a Thursday night. My phone rang. Unknown number. I answered without thinking. Hello? Mrs. Powell. Spencer's voice. Smooth, almost gentle. How are you? My blood ran cold. My entire body went stiff. What do you want? Just wanted to see how you're settling into your new life. I heard you're living downtown now. Apartment 304. A building with no security. Interesting. He knew where I lived. He was tracking me. Stop calling me. I'm not done with you yet, Mrs. Powell. There's more. He paused. I could hear him breathe. Remember when I said I'd let the right people know where Anya Petrova was? Well, I told them. The world stopped. What? 2 days ago? I sent your location to a few of my uncle's contacts. Men who still work for what's left of the syndicate. Men who still remember what you did. And you know what's funny? They're not even going to kill you. They're just going to watch you destroy yourself. Because you're already dead inside, aren't you? You have nothing. No one. It's like you don't even exist anymore. Tears streamed down my face. Silent. Hot. Why are you doing this? Because you destroyed my family. And I promised I'd make you pay. But don't worry, Mrs. Powell. When you finally give up, when you can't take it anymore, They'll be there to finish the job, and no one will miss you. No one." He hung up. I stayed there, sitting on the floor, holding the phone, shaking. He was right. I had no one. I had nothing. It was as if both Anya Petrova and Catherine Powell were dead, and what was left was just a ghost, an empty shell. I looked at the window, 4th floor, high enough. The thought came so naturally, it scared me. Just jump. Just end it all. There would be no more pain, no more humiliation, no more fighting. I stood up, walked to the window, opened it. The cold wind hit my face. I looked down. The empty street. Silent. It would be so easy. I put one leg out. My heart was beating slowly, calmly, as if my body had already accepted what was about to happen. "I'm sorry, Mom," I whispered into the wind. "I'm sorry, Dad. I'm sorry, Alexei. I tried to rebuild. I tried to have a new life, but I couldn't protect it." I put the second leg out. I was sitting on the ledge now. The wind pushed my hair back. My body swayed slightly. Just let go. Just let it be over. I closed my eyes. And then my phone rang again. I almost didn't answer it. I almost let it ring until it stopped. But something in me, I don't know if it was instinct or just one last survival reflex, made me look at the screen. Agent Harris. I answered with a trembling hand. "Kate, where are you?" His voice was urgent. Worried. "It doesn't matter." "Yes, it does. I found something. Something about Spencer Blackwood. I got access to the hacked files. He really did breach the protection system. And there's more. He's not working alone. Your school's headmistress, Audrey Grant, she has a bank account in the Cayman Islands. She received wire transfers from his father. $300,000. 1 week before you were accused. My mind processed it slowly. Proof. He had proof. "There's more," Harris continued. "I found security footage from a building across the street from the school. From the day of the supposed conversation between you and Spencer. The cameras show you leaving the school at 5:10 p.m., 10 minutes before Spencer claimed you were alone in the classroom. I left early. I went to get Jessica's cake. I know. I found the receipt from the bakery, time-stamped, 5:15 p.m. You were already on the other side of town when Spencer alleges the meeting happened." Tears streamed down my face, but this time they were different. They weren't tears of despair. They were tears of rage. "Kate, do you hear me? We can turn this around. We can prove you were framed, but I need you to hold on. I need you not to give up." I looked down, at the empty street, at the fall that was seconds away, and then I looked at the phone. At Agent Harris's voice, at the first person in weeks who believed me. "Kate, I'm here." I pulled myself back into the apartment, sat on the floor, took a deep breath. "I'm going to send you everything I found," he said. "But Kate, listen. This is going to be a war. Spencer and his father are powerful. They will fight back. They will try to destroy you even more. You need to be ready. I've already been destroyed," I said, and my voice sounded different, colder, firmer. "There's nothing left they can take from me. And now I'm going to take back everything they stole." I hung up, closed the window, locked it, and for the first time in weeks, I felt something other than despair. I felt rage. Pure, crystalline, focused. Spencer had driven me to the edge. He had taken everything from me. He had made me consider jumping from a 4th-floor window, but he made one mistake, one fatal mistake. He left me alive, and now Anya Petrova, the woman who survived the syndicate, who testified against murderers, who rebuilt her life from the ashes, was back, and she had absolutely nothing to lose. Let me know in the comments what city you're listening from. I read them all and reply to each one with love. Give this a like if you're enjoying it. I stayed awake all night, not out of despair, not out of fear, but out of planning. Agent Harris sent me all the files via an encrypted email. I read every document, every bank transfer, every system breach log, every frame of the security footage that proved I wasn't at the school when Spencer claimed. And as I read, something inside me changed. It broke, or maybe it fixed itself. I'm not sure which. I realized something in those pre-dawn hours, sitting on the cold floor of my empty apartment, lit only by the glow of my laptop. I had spent 15 years being afraid, 15 years looking over my shoulder, 15 years living as Catherine Powell, the kind teacher, the dedicated wife, the woman who never made trouble. I had buried Anya Petrova so deep I forgot who she was. But Anya Petrova wasn't kind. She was a survivor. She had looked armed men in the eye and testified against them. She had rebuilt her life 3 times. She had lost everything and kept breathing. And that night, as the sun began to rise through that dirty window, Anya Petrova finally woke up. I wasn't going to run anymore. I wasn't going to defend myself anymore. I wasn't going to beg for people to believe me. I was going to attack. I grabbed an old notebook I found in the box of books. I opened it to the first blank page, and I started to write. Not a diary entry. Not a plea for help. A battle plan. Name: Spencer Blackwood. Weaknesses: arrogance, overconfidence, underestimates women. He had underestimated me. He thought I would fall apart, that I would give up, that I would die in silence while he went on with his life as a rich, spoiled kid. But he didn't know my real story. He didn't know what I had survived before becoming Catherine Powell. He had no idea that the woman he was trying to destroy had been trained to survive in situations far worse than a teenage psychopath with his father's money. I wrote down everything, every detail I remembered about Spencer. Behavioral patterns, schedules, who he talked to, where he went after school. I had observed more than I realized. My teacher's brain had filed it all away without me noticing. Name: Dr. Audrey Grant. Weaknesses: greed, fear of losing prestige, $300,000. She had sold my reputation for $300,000. And now I had the proof. Bank transfers, dates, amounts, all documented by Agent Harris. Name: Harrison Blackwood. Weaknesses: his son, reputation, business interests. Spencer's father was a developer, owner of 3 major construction firms, an impeccable public image, philanthropist, political campaign donor, a man who couldn't afford to have his name associated with crime syndicates and criminal conspiracies. I had ammunition now. Not just empty accusations. I had proof, documents, concrete evidence. But it still wasn't enough. Because if I simply took it all to the police, they would bury it. Harrison Blackwood had power. He had connections. He had the money to buy silence and destroy evidence. No, I had to do it differently. I needed to expose everything at once, in a way so public, so scandalous, that no one could cover it up. I needed to destroy Spencer the same way he had destroyed me, in front of everyone, with no room for denial. But for that, I needed more. I needed his confession. I needed him to admit everything. On tape, on video, something that couldn't be denied or distorted, and I knew exactly how to get it. I got up off the floor, went to the bathroom, looked in the mirror. The woman staring back was a wreck. Disheveled hair, sunken eyes, pale skin, wrinkled clothes. But in her eyes, I saw something new, something that wasn't there before. Determination, coldness, calculation. "You are going to pay, Spencer," I whispered to my reflection. "For every humiliation, every lie, every second of suffering. I will make you pay for everything." I took a shower, brushed my teeth, fixed my hair, put on clean clothes. Not delicate teacher's clothes, dark clothes, practical. The clothes of someone going to war. I called Agent Harris. "I need equipment," I said as soon as he answered. "A hidden audio recorder, a small camera, a GPS tracker." "Kate, what are you planning?" "Getting his confession, recording everything, exposing it publicly. That's dangerous. If he finds out, he won't find out, because he thinks I'm defeated. He thinks I'm just a weak, scared teacher. He's not expecting me to fight back." Silence on the line. "Harris, I need your help. One last time. After this, you can pull me from the program. Give me another identity. Anything. But first, I need to destroy them." I heard him sigh. "All right, but are you sure about this? Because there's no going back. If you start this, you have to finish it, I'm sure." In the following days, I transformed into someone else. Not Catherine Powell, the teacher. Not Anya Petrova on the run, but a third version. A version that combined Kate's intelligence with Anya's coldness. I started digging. I researched everything about the Blackwood family. I found records of suspicious business deals, overinflated construction contract, bids won through political connections, shell companies in the Bahamas. Harrison Blackwood wasn't just a rich businessman. He was a white-collar criminal. I discovered that Audrey Grant had gambling debts. Almost $1 million. That's why she took the bribe so easily. She was desperate. I tracked Spencer's movements on social media. He was active on Instagram, posted photos at parties, at expensive restaurants, on trips, always showing off his wealthy lifestyle, always with that perfect smile. And always, in every post, there were comments from girls praising him, calling him gorgeous, perfect. He loved the attention, loved being admired. That was another weakness. Ego, narcissism. Agent Harris delivered the equipment a week later. A brooch with a hidden camera, so small it was impossible to notice. A recorder the size of a pen, state-of-the-art technology. Perfect sound quality. It has a 3-hour battery life, he explained as he showed me how to use it, and it records in high definition. But Kate, be careful. If Spencer finds out you're recording him, he could hurt you. Physically. I know. I took the equipment. Tested it. It worked perfectly. Thank you, Harris, for everything. When this is over, you'll have to disappear again. You understand? New city. New identity. Start from scratch one more time. I know. I looked at him. But this time it will be different. This time I won't be running in fear. I'll be starting over because I chose to. Because I finished what I needed to finish. I spent the next few days preparing mentally. Rehearsing conversations. Anticipating reactions. Spencer was smart, manipulative. I had to be better. I learned about the psychology of manipulators. I read articles, watched videos. I understood that people like Spencer had patterns. They loved to confess, loved to show off how clever they were, how they fooled everyone. But they only did it when they thought they were in control, when they thought there was no threat. I needed to make him feel safe, make him think he had completely won, that I was so broken I wasn't even a danger anymore. And then he would let his guard down. He would confess. He would brag, and I would record every word. 3 weeks after nearly jumping from that window, I was ready. Not physically. I was still thin, with dark circles, looking like someone who had been defeated, but that was perfect. It was exactly the image I needed to project. I was ready mentally, ready emotionally, ready to do what needed to be done. I had a plan. I had proof. I had equipment. I had determination. And I had absolutely nothing to lose. I looked in the mirror one last time before I left. The woman staring back was no longer a victim, no longer someone begging to be believed. She was a hunter. Cold. Calculating. Dangerous. Spencer Blackwood had destroyed me. He had driven me to the brink. He had turned me into the villain of his story, and now I was going to show him what a real villain can do when she has nothing left to lose. The war was beginning. And this time, I wasn't going to lose. My first move was simple, almost unnoticeable, but devastatingly effective. I created a fake Instagram profile, a 17-year-old girl, beautiful, popular, exactly the type Spencer followed. I used stock photos, edited them to look real, added stories, backdated posts. I created an entire life for this fictional person. Her name was Melissa Santos, a private school student from New York, recently moved to the city, looking to make friends. I started by following the same people Spencer followed, liking the same things. Within 2 days, he followed me back, just as I knew he would. Boys like Spencer always follow pretty girls. I waited a week. I posted photos at places I knew he frequented. The mall, the gourmet coffee shop downtown, the luxury gym. I created proximity without direct contact. And then I sent the first message. Hey, do you go to Oak Ridge Academy? I think I saw you there last week when I was touring the school. I'm thinking of transferring, he replied in less than 5 minutes. Yeah, I go there. It's a great school. You should definitely come. How old are you? 17. I'm a senior. You? 17 too. What a coincidence. If you want, I can show you around the school. Introduce you to people. Perfect. He had taken the bait. We talked for days. I made Melissa exactly what he wanted. Impressed by him. Interested in his stories. Awed by his lifestyle. I fed his ego until he was completely comfortable. And then, casually, I brought it up. Wow. But I saw some news about a teacher from there who harassed a student. That's crazy, right? Oh yeah, that was me. My heart pounded. But I maintained the Melissa persona. Shocked. Sympathetic. Seriously? Oh my God. You must have been through so much. What a horrible woman. It was tough. But I managed to report her. She lost everything. As she should have. You're so brave. Seriously. Some people wouldn't have the courage to speak up. He loved it. He sent voice notes talking about how traumatic but necessary it was. How he was helping other potential victims by exposing the teacher. Each audio message was more revealing. He was bragging. Without realizing it, he was confessing details that only he could know. Details that proved he had planned everything. But I still needed more. I needed him to admit the whole thing was a sham. Admit that he lied. So I took the next step. But did she actually do that stuff? Because sometimes people make up stories for attention, you know? Silence. For 10 minutes. Nothing. I had taken a risk. Maybe I had gone too far. Maybe he was suspicious. But then the reply came, "Look, between us, she didn't do anything physical, but the intent was there. And sometimes the intent is enough to destroy someone, you know? She deserved it, for other reasons." There it was. He had admitted it. In writing. That she hadn't done anything physical. That the destruction was based on intent and other reasons. I saved everything. Screenshots. Audio recordings. Every word, but I didn't expose it yet. It was too soon. I needed more. I needed him to confess why he did it, what the other reason was. In the meantime, I made my second move. I accessed the school's parent forums. Using another fake profile, this time a concerned mother, I started asking subtle questions about the school's renovations, about where the money was coming from, about the generous donations. Does anyone know who donated for the library renovation? I found it strange that the work started right after that scandal with the teacher. Could there be a connection? The seed was planted. Within 2 days, other parents started asking questions, doing their own research. Some discovered that Harrison Blackwood had donated $300,000. Others found the timing suspicious. Did the headmistress take a bribe to frame the teacher? The questions began to circulate. Slowly, subtly, but they were circulating. I made my third move a week later. I sent an anonymous email to 3 investigative journalists, with documents attached. Bank transfers, dates, connections between Harrison Blackwood and the Volkov syndicate. You're investigating the wrong story. The real scandal isn't the teacher. It's who's behind the accusation. I didn't expect them to publish immediately. Journalists need to verify sources, investigate, confirm, but the seed was planted. At some point, the story would break. And then I got the call that changed everything. It was Laura, my former best friend, the woman who had abandoned me when I needed her most. "Kate," her voice was shaky, scared. "I need to talk to you. It's about Spencer." My entire body tensed. "What about him?" He approached me yesterday, after class, said he needed to talk in private. And Kate, he did the same thing. Closed the door, watched me in a weird way, made comments about how important I was to him, how he trusted me. My blood ran cold. "Laura, get away from him." Now, I already did. But Kate, I realized, he was testing me, seeing if he could do to me what he did to you. And I understood. You were telling the truth. He set it all up. He's dangerous. Tears burned my eyes. Not of sadness, of validation. Someone finally believed me. "I need to meet you," she said. "I need to tell you other things I've noticed, things that only make sense now." We arranged to meet at a discreet coffee shop the next day. When I hung up, I realized my hand was shaking. Not from fear, from anticipation. The pieces were moving. The game was starting. Spencer still thought he had won, but the cracks were beginning to show. But then came the complication. 2 days later, I received a text from an unknown number, a photo of me leaving my apartment building, taken that morning, and a message. "We know where you are, Anya, and we're watching." The syndicate, the men Spencer had alerted. They were tracking me, watching me, waiting for the right moment. I called Agent Harris immediately. "They're here. They sent me a photo." "Damn it. Kate, you need to move. Now. Today. I can't. I'm in the middle of the plan. If I disappear now, Spencer will know. He'll protect himself. If you stay, they could kill you. Then I'll have to be faster." I hung up before he could argue. I looked at the photo again. At the threatening message. Time was running out. I had started a war on 2 fronts. Against Spencer and against the syndicate, and now I no longer had the luxury of going slow, of being subtle. I needed to accelerate. I needed to force Spencer's confession. I needed to expose everything before they found me. The game had turned deadly, and I was racing against the clock. There was no more time for subtlety. The photos from the syndicate kept coming, one a day, each one closer than the last. They were tightening the noose, reminding me they knew where I was, that they could get me whenever they wanted, but I wasn't going to run, not this time. I set up the meeting with Spencer. I used the Melissa account. "I'm in town today. Want to meet up? We could grab a coffee." He accepted immediately. Of course he did. He loved the attention from pretty girls, loved to show off, but at the last minute, I canceled. "Sorry, my dad said no, but maybe we could do a video call?" "Sure." I called him at 8 p.m. He was in his room, relaxed, confident, shirtless, showing off the body he worked on at the expensive gym. A show-off, a narcissist. Melissa complimented him, made small talk, made him feel special. And then, casually, she brought up the teacher again. "You know what I think is most incredible? That you managed to take her down completely. Like, she lost everything. her job, her family, her reputation. That requires a lot of strategy. He smiled, that proud smile. I planned every detail, every fake message, every lie. It took me 3 months to set everything up perfectly. But why? Like she was just a teacher. Why go to all that trouble? And then he hesitated. For 2 seconds I saw the mask falter. But then his ego won. She had something my family wanted. Information. A secret past. My job was to destroy her life before other people finished the job. I was recording everything. Every word, every expression, everything. Wow, that's heavy. But don't you feel bad? She was innocent, right? No one is innocent. She knew what she did 15 years ago. She deserved to pay. He leaned into the camera. And you know what the best part is? Everyone believed it. It was so easy to manipulate people. The headmistress, the parents, the other students. They all danced to my tune. There it was. The full confession, on video, with his face, with his voice. Irrefutable. You're a genius, Melissa said, staying in character. I know. He smiled. And in that smile was all the arrogance that would be his downfall. I hung up 5 minutes later. I saved the video in 3 different places. The cloud, an external hard drive, a flash drive. I couldn't risk losing it. The next day, I made my boldest move. I went to Oak Ridge Academy. For the first time in 2 months, I walked into the main office. The secretary looked at me with shock and discomfort. Kate, what are you doing here? I'm here to see Dr. Grant. She won't want to see you. Oh, she will. Tell her I have information about her bank accounts in the Cayman Islands, and about the $300,000. The color drained from the secretary's face. She picked up the phone, spoke quietly, hung up. She'll see you in 5 minutes. I sat in the waiting area. My heart was beating fast, but my mind was cold, calculating. I was wearing the brooch with the hidden camera. I had the recorder. I was documenting everything. When I walked into her office, Audrey was pale, tense. Her hands were trembling slightly. What do you want? I want you to admit it. That you were bought. That you helped Spencer destroy me in exchange for money. I don't know what you're talking about. I placed an envelope on her desk. Bank statements. Wire transfers. Dates. It's all here. The question is, do you admit it now in private, or do I expose everything publicly? She opened the envelope. Her hands were shaking so much she could barely hold the papers. I read the exact moment on her face when she realized she was cornered. Kate, I was in debt. A lot of debt. I had no choice. Everyone has a choice. You chose money over justice. What do you want? Money? I'll give it back. I want you to sign a confession, admitting everything. And I want you to formally retract all the accusations against me. If I do that, I'll lose my job, my license. I could even go to jail. You should have thought of that before. I leaned across the desk. You have 24 hours, or I take this to the press and the police. Your choice. I left her office before she could respond. I left the envelope. I left the fear. I left her to drown in the consequences. In the parking lot, Laura was waiting for me. I got it. She handed me a flash drive. Files from Audrey's computer. I have access as the assistant head. There are emails, conversations with Harrison Blackwood. Everything. I hugged her. For the first time in months, I felt like I wasn't alone. Thank you for believing me. I'm sorry I didn't believe you sooner. In the following days, the pieces fell like dominoes. Audrey signed the confession. One of the journalists I had contacted published the first story. Scandal at Oak Ridge Academy. Headmistress took bribe to frame innocent teacher. The news exploded. In 12 hours, it was on every website. In 24, it was on television. In 48, Harrison Blackwood was giving interviews trying to do damage control. My son is a victim. My donation was legitimate. This is a smear campaign. But people started to doubt. They started asking questions. They started digging, and the more they dug, the more dirt they found. Spencer called me. For the first time, I heard fear in his voice. What did you do? Me? Nothing. I just told the truth. The one you said no one would believe. You have no proof of anything. Oh, but I do. I have recordings, videos, confessions. I have everything, Spencer. And in 48 hours, the whole world is going to see it. He hung up, but I knew. He was panicking. Finally, the net was closing in. Around him. Around his father. Around everyone who had participated. And I still had my final ace. The video call recording. The full confession. I was just waiting for the perfect moment to play it. The moment I would destroy them all at once. I scheduled the confrontation for a Saturday, in the school auditorium, the same place where it all began. where Spencer first walked into my classroom. But this time, I was in control. I sent an anonymous email to the entire school community. Parents, students, teachers, the press. Oak Ridge Academy scandal. The full truth will be revealed. Saturday, 3 p.m., auditorium. Attendance of Spencer Blackwood is mandatory. I knew he would come. His ego wouldn't let him stay away. He needed to control the narrative. He needed to defend himself. He needed to show he was still the victim. And he came. He arrived 15 minutes late, accompanied by his father. Harrison Blackwood was by his side, face red with anger, expensive suit, intimidating posture, trying to project power. The auditorium was packed. Over 200 people. Cameras from 3 television networks, reporters, furious parents, curious students, tense teachers, and me. Center stage, alone, with a laptop connected to the projector, with a microphone, with all the evidence I had collected over the past few weeks. Thank you for coming, I began, and my voice echoed through the silent auditorium. My name is Catherine Powell. I was a teacher at this school for 20 years, until I was falsely accused of harassment by that boy right there. I pointed to Spencer. He was sitting in the 3rd row, arms crossed, a look of disdain on his face, but I saw it. In his eyes, a flicker of fear. You knew me as a teacher, as the woman who loved literature, who dedicated 2 decades of her life to education. But today, I'm going to tell you who I really am, and why Spencer Blackwood chose me to destroy. I took a deep breath. This was it, the moment to expose everything. My real name is Anya Petrova. 15 years ago, I testified against the Volkov Syndicate, the 2nd largest crime syndicate in the country. I watched my mother, my father, and my brother get murdered in front of me by men from that syndicate. And after I testified, I entered the witness protection program. I became Catherine Powell. I rebuilt my life from scratch. Murmurs erupted in the auditorium. Shock, disbelief, curiosity. The leader of that syndicate, I continued, looking directly at Spencer, was Dmitry Volkov, Spencer Blackwood's uncle. He died in prison 2 years ago. But before he died, he told his nephew about the woman who destroyed his family's empire, and Spencer promised revenge. This is insane, Harrison stood up. My son has nothing to do with any syndicate. This is an absurd smear. Sit down, Harrison. My voice was cold, cutting. Because I have proof of everything. I clicked on the laptop. The first image appeared on the big screen, a family tree of the Blackwood family, connected to the Volkov family. Marriages, business dealings, money laundered through construction companies. Spencer hacked the witness protection system. He found my location. And then you, I looked at Harrison, made that generous donation to the school. $300,000. Coincidentally, the same amount wired to Dr. Audrey Grant's account in the Cayman Islands. I projected the bank statements, dates, amounts, all synced up. Audrey was in the 5th row. She covered her face with her hands. She knew she was finished. Spencer was planted at this school specifically to find me, to destroy me from the inside out. He created fake text messages from my phone. He invented conversations that never happened. He coached other students to lie about my behavior. Prove it, Spencer shouted, finally getting to his feet. Where's your proof? You're just a desperate woman making up conspiracy theories. I smiled. That cold smile that's terrifying, because it holds no humor, only certainty. I was so hoping you'd ask. I clicked again. The screen showed the classroom. The date, April 10th, 5:10 p.m. This is the security camera from the hallway. It shows me leaving the school at 5:10, 10 minutes before you claimed we were alone in my classroom, because I went to pick up my daughter's birthday cake. Here is the receipt from the bakery. Time stamped, 5:15 p.m. Impossible to be in 2 places at once. Spencer turned pale. He looked at his father. Harrison was petrified. But wait, there's more. I clicked again. This is your entry and exit log from the school. Biometric system. You entered my classroom at 5:20, 5 minutes after I was already on the other side of town. So that intimate conversation you described in detail to the police, it never happened. The auditorium erupted. Shouts, curses, parents standing up, furious. Cameras recording everything, reporters speaking live. But my favorite part, I raised my voice to be heard over the chaos, is this. The video started to play. Spencer in his room, shirtless, talking to Melissa, and then his voice filled the auditorium. I planned every detail, every fake message, every lie. It took me 3 months to set everything up perfectly. She had something my family wanted. Information. A secret past. My job was to destroy her life before other people finished the job. It was so easy to manipulate people. The headmistress, the parents, the other students, they all danced to my tune. Absolute silence. No one breathed. Everyone was looking at the screen, at Spencer confessing, admitting, bragging. When the video ended, the chaos resumed, but this time it was different. It was rage. Directed at Spencer, at Harrison, at Audrey. Spencer tried to run. Harrison grabbed his arm, but parents blocked the exit. Some were yelling. Others were crying. Mothers who had defended Spencer, who had crucified me on social media, now realized they had been deceived. 2 police officers I had invited, in coordination with Agent Harris, approached the stage. Spencer Blackwood, you're under arrest for perjury, defamation, and conspiracy. Harrison Blackwood, you're under arrest for bribery, money laundering, and criminal conspiracy. Handcuffs. On both of them, father and son. Spencer looked at me as he was being led away. There was no more arrogance, no more smile, just fear, pure and absolute. You won't get away with this, he screamed. They'll find you. The syndicate will. The syndicate has already been found. Agent Harris's voice cut through as he entered the auditorium. We arrested 6 members this morning, including the ones who were tracking you, Kate. They had orders to kill you as soon as Spencer finished his job. My legs almost gave out. I knew they were tracking me, but I didn't know the execution order had already been given. Harris came closer. You were right about everything. Spencer was a trained enforcer, and Harrison knew. He financed it. Covered for him. It's all coming out now. The whole operation. Spencer and Harrison were dragged outside. The cameras recorded it all. The respected developer and his golden boy son being arrested. In public disgrace. Complete and total. Dr. Grant tried to slip out a side door, but 2 officers intercepted her. Dr. Grant, you'll be coming with us as well. On charges of bribery and conspiracy. She didn't resist. She just cried. A 20-year career destroyed in an afternoon. When the auditorium finally emptied, only a few people remained. Laura, Agent Harris, 2 persistent reporters, and me. A mother approached me, tears streaming down her face. Mrs. Powell, I crucified you on social media. I called you horrible things, and you were innocent the whole time. I am so sorry. Others came forward, one by one, apologizing, some crying, some just silent. Unable to form words, I accepted, not because I completely forgave them, but because I understood. They had been manipulated too. Spencer was a master at it. Later, sitting on the steps of the empty auditorium, I looked at the laptop that had changed everything, at the proof that had saved me. My phone rang. Michael. I answered, my heart in my throat. Kate, I saw. It was streaming live. I saw everything. His voice broke. My God, what did I do? How could I not have believed you? You were deceived, like everyone else. That's no excuse. I was your husband. I should have believed you. I should have fought for you. Tears burned my eyes. It's too late, Michael. I know. I just wanted you to know that I'm sorry. Deeply. And that I'll spend the rest of my life living with this guilt. I hung up. There was nothing more to say. Emily called me minutes later, sobbing. Mom, I'm so sorry. Please, forgive me. I know, sweetie. I know. I abandoned you when you needed me most. You were manipulated. Everyone was, but something inside me had broken. Something that wouldn't go back to normal just with apologies. It would take time. A lot of time. Spencer Blackwood had fallen. Harrison Blackwood had fallen. Audrey Grant had fallen. I had won, but the victory tasted like ashes, because I knew I could never be Catherine Powell again. That life was over the moment I decided to fight back. Now I was something different. Someone different, and I had to figure out who this new version of me was. 3 months after that Saturday in the auditorium, I'm in a different city. Another name. Another life. This time, it's not Anya Petrova or Catherine Powell. It's someone new. Someone who carries pieces of them both but isn't completely either one. Spencer was convicted. 3 years in a juvenile facility, followed by 5 more in a state prison when he turns 18. Harrison got 15 years. Money laundering, criminal conspiracy, bribery. The list was long. Audrey lost everything. Her job, her license. She's on probation, but she'll never work in education again. I won a settlement. From the school, from Harrison, from Audrey. Enough money to start over comfortably, to never have to worry about bills again. But there are some things money can't buy back. Michael tried to reconcile. He showed up at my door 2 weeks after everything exploded. Said he loved me, that he'd made the biggest mistake of his life, that he wanted to try again. I said no. Because when you need someone the most, and they turn their back on you, something breaks. Something that doesn't glue back together, no matter how much regret there is. My daughters tried too. Emily and Jessica want to rebuild our relationship. We have lunch once a month. We talk on the phone every week, but it's not the same. There's a distance now. An invisible scar that will always be there. It's not their fault. Not completely, but they made a choice when they believed the lies instead of me. And I made my choice when I decided I didn't need people who would doubt me in my darkest hour. Laura is the only one who stayed. The only one who managed to cross that distance. Maybe because she was also deceived by Spencer. Maybe because she understood. Too late, but she understood. So was it worth it? The revenge, the war, the destruction I brought upon the lives of Spencer, Harrison, and Audrey. I think about it every night. And the answer is never simple. Yes, it was worth it. Because I proved my innocence. Because I stopped Spencer from doing this to others. Because I dismantled a criminal operation. Because I refused to be just another silent victim. But it was also not worth it, because I lost my family, I lost my marriage, I lost the life I had built for 15 years. I lost the innocence of believing that justice always prevails on its own. I had to become the villain to stop being the victim. I had to destroy so I wouldn't be destroyed. I had to play the dirty game because no one was willing to fight clean for me. And that changed me. It hardened me. It made me realize that the world isn't fair to women who trust, who believe, who hope that the truth will be enough. Sometimes you have to make the truth be heard, even if it means screaming, even if it means fighting, even if it means becoming the very thing they accused you of being. This is my version of the story, the version no one wanted to hear when I was just the accused teacher, the version that only got attention when I stopped asking and started demanding. They called me a predator, crazy, a liar, obsessive, and in the end, they called me a villain for taking my revenge. But I'd rather be the villain who fought back than the victim who accepted it in silence. So I ask you, what about you? Have you ever had your story twisted? Ever been judged without anyone wanting to hear your side? Ever had to choose between accepting injustice or fighting back, knowing the fight would cost you dearly? How many of us carry accusations we don't deserve? How many of us have been silenced because our truth was inconvenient? How many of us have learned that sometimes, to survive, you have to stop being kind and start being strategic? This is my story. The story of how they called me a predator. And I showed them what it really meant to be hunted, and how I refused to die in silence. If you're going through something similar, if someone is trying to destroy you with lies, I'm telling you, don't give up. Gather your proof, find your allies, and fight, because your truth deserves to be heard, even if you have to scream for it. And if you've ever been the person who believed the lies about someone, who shared the gossip, who condemned without knowing both sides, think about it. Because one day, you might be the one being destroyed, and you'll want someone to stop and listen to your version. Every story has two sides, and sometimes, the villain's side is the only one telling the truth.